As if closely following the evolution of the original King Seiko sub-brand, Seiko restarted it all with the brawny 44 KS case, and is now following up with the softly contoured lines and wide polished surfaces of the 45 KS. And the reason why? Well, to launch the new King Seiko KS1969 collection, of course, consisting of 4 new references paying homage to one of the best King Seiko models of the past. But before we dive into the details, let's see where the inspiration comes from. King Seiko is on par with the more premium Presage offerings in terms of movements, but going for an aesthetic inspired by Seiko's back catalogue. This new collection focuses on the second King Seiko generation, the 45 KS. More specifically, it takes the 45 KCM as its main inspiration, one of the last great King Seiko models of its time. The 45 KS was the last hand-built King Seiko by the Daini Seikosha company, and the last to use a high-beat, chronometer-certified Daini movement, essentially the Rolls-Royce of Seiko movements at the time. But let's get into the new KS1969. Dials are commonly the standout feature no matter which Seiko we're talking about, and the same applies here. While I'm not 100% certain about the rising dragon inspiration of this light blue, I do know that it's stunning. The blue-green tinge is a great match for the triangle pattern, and thanks to the faceted hands and indices, legibility is not an issue. A curious stylistic choice is the gold Seiko logo. I'm sort of on the fence about whether I prefer if it stays silver, though it's certainly a personal preference. The vibrance of the purple and green dials is muted by the mottled texture meant to represent washi paper. The green is particularly attractive with a further gradient finish that darkens towards the Minitrack, making the white on black date wheel even better integrated. Finally, the silver is most faithful to the original 45 KCM, though with some important differences. For starters, Seiko has removed much of the dial text found on the 45 KS, highly unusual in a world where spec sheets on dials are becoming all the more common. Another differentiator are the hands and indices. The KS1969 goes for a simpler handset and retains the feathered look of the double index at 12 introduced with the KS Revival, a feature I'm a big fan of. If you know modern Seiko, you'll know that the dials will be good, and they are. What is a pleasant surprise here is the case. Admittedly larger than the 45 KCM, the barrel-shaped 39.4mm diameter is kept in check by the lug-to-lug of 43.6 and a thickness of just 9.9. It makes it an excellent wear on wrist. Most impressive is the profile, which at 9.9mm really makes the most of the slimline movement, something which the earlier KS models weren't able to capitalize on. In fact, it's even thinner than the vintage models it was inspired by. Now that's rare. Design-wise, the KS1969 doesn't follow the grammar of design that was established by Taro Tanaka around the same time. Its barrel shape and swooping rounded lugs are a far cry from the flat, wide shapes Tanaka is known for. Another thing it has in common with the 45 KCM. I know that the new K-shape is probably the biggest bit of news here, but the nerd in me is excited about the bracelet too. Modeled after the reference 5606 fitted to King Seiko models in the 60s, this pseudo beads of rice is a great stylistic choice, and it integrates into the case really well, which has been a source of complaint for some Seiko models. The small links are really comfortable and articulate well, and while the butterfly clasp doesn't leave much room in terms of adjustability, the size of the links does help achieve a closer fit. The caliber 6L35 is the biggest differentiator from the KS1969's vintage inspiration. Whereas the original was manually wound and chronometer certified, the 6L35 is automatic, as the dial text suggests. It's impressively thin for a full rotor automatic at just 3.7mm, and offers a 45-hour power reserve beating at 4 Hz. It's essentially Seiko's competitor to the ETA 2892, sitting at the upper end of the brand's offering without being derived from a Grand Seiko movement of some kind. When several Seiko samples arrived at the Time+Tide offices, the KS1969s were the ones I naturally gravitated towards. If I remember correctly, the words I used were, "I want one." The case is fantastic on wrist, and the dials are another show of Seiko's evolution over the years. The limited edition SJE115 would probably be my pick of the bunch, closely followed by the silver SJE109, simply for nostalgia reasons. Though the dials are cleaned up, having the high beat and chronometer text would make more sense for a top-end King Seiko, considering the model's history. And though the slim dimensions and reliable performance of the 6L35 are commendable, it's as far as Seiko can go without encroaching on Grand Seiko territory. While the finish of the KS1969's case and dials are worthy of the modern GS logo, I don't think we'll be seeing chronometer-certified King Seiko models anytime soon. But if you can get past this deviation from historical accuracy, you'll get a great watch on your wrist. Where do you stand on King Seiko? I'd love to hear thoughts from fellow collectors, as I'm actually considering picking one of these up. The King Seiko KS1969 collection will be available in July 2024, while the SJE115 100th anniversary model is a limited edition of 700 pieces, priced at $3,100 US. If you enjoyed this video, let us know by leaving a like or comment, and make sure you subscribe for more videos like this one.